Well, back into weekend again, and we're looking at extra seed sowings. Last week I sowed some extra seeds for tomatoes because we hadn't actually got that many. So I did a full tray of different varieties. And they've been indoors. And you can see they're just starting to come up. And we have got a couple of seeds in each cell just in case one didn't come up. And then I'll just wait till these get a little bit bigger. Then I'll just pinch off the weak seedling because that is way more tomatoes than I need. But that's the whole point of sowing extra seeds. You're better to have too many than not enough. Because as always, when you're sowing seeds to grow plants on through British season, time's always against you. So you're better off doing too many to start with, and then you know you've definitely got plenty. And of course you've also got lots of backup plants just in case something happens to the ones that you do put outside as we go through spring and summer. But every now and again you're going to come across seeds that don't seem to want to know. We put a load of cauliflower seeds in there and I can only see 2 tiny little seedlings coming up. But they're all in the same place as his other trays, which have germinated okay. It does happen. And the best way to deal with that is to sow them all over again. Because at this point you've probably only lost a week. So rather than keep waiting and waiting and waiting and then 4 weeks later realise they're not going to germinate and have to start sowing seeds all over again, you might as well do them now. Because even if you get too many, you could just eat these little seedlings as microgreens if you didn't want to plant them all out. We always reach a certain point in year where we don't have to worry about germinating seeds indoors because as nighttime temperatures are slowly getting warmer and warmer. So things are going to start and germinate quite happily in your greenhouse. And that's an unheated greenhouse, by the way. We don't heat any of our greenhouses. And I think we're round about at that time now because I sowed quite a few seeds last week and I didn't take them back indoors. I did a couple of those round courgettes that we're trying out this year and you can see that they're on the way. It's only been a week, but they're coming up. They've been in here all week. That's another one that I sowed and that's called a Black Beauty, and there's a couple of those coming up as well. I've got one of those Jack My Little Pumpkins on its way as well, and then of course there's cucumbers. And cucumbers are one of the hardest plants I find to keep alive outside if it drops a bit cold. So the fact that cucumbers and courgettes are managing quite fine tells me that we no longer really need to sow seeds indoors, unless of course it's things like peppers and tomatoes because they benefit a bit more from that extra warmth and germinate quicker. I also did loads of different types of salad bowls in these little caravan bowls, and we sowed loads of different seeds for those only last week. And because they take up quite a bit of space, I put all those bowls outside on a bench. So we'll just go nip and have a look and see how they've got on outside of the greenhouse. And just before we go and have a look at those plants outside, I just want to say a really big thank you to Nancy Cochran, who's made a donation to the channel yesterday. That's very much appreciated and very generous of you. And that one is always put back into this channel. So we'll be getting ourselves a few extra packs of seeds this week. Thank you very much for that, Nancy. Really appreciate it. So basically we just popped them on this bench, along with those strawberry plants that we potted on. And you can see we've got germination in that one. Also in that one. That one has got a couple, but these are onions. They do take a little bit longer to germinate. As container onions look perfectly fine. This one's mustard. And obviously you can see that that's doing really well. And virtually every container that we put outside on this bench has got some degree of germination. And that salad planter is a little bit bigger than it were last time we looked at it as well. We just keep that mesh on top so cats don't decide to get in there and start digging. I think you'll agree that these red cabbages are a lot bigger than they were only last week. They're now starting to fill out quite a lot. But we need to make sure we keep this greenhouse door open all the time because if they get too warm, they'll bolt. But they have come on quite a bit in just the last 7 days. Unfortunately, in this greenhouse, the story is a little bit different. These cauliflowers seem to be doing alright. They've got a good size to them, and so far I can't see any problems. This T-Rex is also looking alright, although it definitely needs a bit of water, which I'll sort out in a minute. Broad beans doing alright. Still got lots of fresh flowers coming on that plant, and we've got some little beans growing as well. But this cauliflower, unfortunately, has gone to seed. It's bolted. So that cauliflower head that was growing is now all separated, and then these will turn into flowers so it can drop seeds. So that's basically no good. So we started off with 6 in this greenhouse, and we're now down to 2. But it were just an experiment, and the weather has definitely been against us all the time we've been doing this. But the spring onions are still trying to hold their own. And on the other side of that greenhouse, again, these Savoy cabbages have put on loads of growth since only last week. So just for the sake of that temperature going up by a couple of degrees, you can see how much things spring into life. We've got quite a few bits and bobs on this bench as well. That's that tiny little lettuce that we found outside. If you remember on a previous video, it was just one random lettuce in a container. And it was tiny. And now it's getting to the size where we could start and harvest leaves from it. We've got loads more onions that we need to plant out as well. But we'll get round to that. They're those flowers that we put in. Really small plants, we're putting these 9cm containers. And again, that was only a couple of weeks ago. And you can see they've put on quite a bit of growth as well. So they're looking really well. And that's that difference that I keep talking about between last week and this week. Them temperatures have just gone up slightly, and then all your concerns will start to disappear because you can actually see something happening. Like this salad planter we've done as well. That gets bigger and bigger every week that we look at it, but we are leaving this a little bit longer to put on some more growth because we want bigger leaves to harvest than that. But it's definitely going to be worth wait, and of course that's going to be cut and come again, so we're going to get multiple harvests from this container. And at the back, that's the calabrese that we pricked out last week, and there was really tiny little seedlings, and we moved them all on into this tray and got ourselves 40 plants. But the size of them is what matters. Just for pricking them out and moving them into their own little cells. They're now 3 times the size they were last week. That carrot container is starting to fill up a little bit now. Not so much over this side, but there's still growth there. But I'm not sure whether this tray is going to work. It seems to be drying out really quickly all the time. But it's an experiment and we'll see how that goes. Those are Paris Silverskin, so little pickling onions. And we just sown a load in this container. And we can see now that they're starting to get a good bit of growth on them, which is brilliant. They're growing quicker than these ones that we put in before. But these are now starting to split off at the tops. So they're growing alright, just a little bit slower. And again, small container, drying out a little bit. So today's going to be watering as well as sowing new seeds. At least things are growing now. And you only have to flick back to last week and you'll see in greenhouses what size these plants were then compared to what they are just 1 week later.
And it looks like it's also time to roll up this tater bag and bury this foliage a bit more, because that way we'll get more potatoes out of this. So that's something else we can do today. Add some compost, roll them edges up, and encourage that plant to put out more tubers.
So only last week we had all these concerns about things germinating slowly, plants not growing quickly at all. And a week later we can see what a massive difference it makes. And if you're not sure about your own plants, because you might look at them every day or every other day, just get your phone out, take a picture of all your plants today, and then compare that picture to those same plants next week. And I think you'll be surprised at just how much extra growth they have put on. And at the same time, that's going to be encouragement for yourselves as well, to know that things are finally on the way. So I'm going to sort some pots out and I'm going to get some more seeds sown today, so I know we've got loads and loads of plants when we're going to need them during May. And we've been planting them in these little containers, little plastic tubs. That's little gem lettuce. And we weren't sure whether these seeds were any good, so we just put loads on. But we have got some plants out of it, and more little plants than you think when we come to prick them out in a few days' time. So that's another batch of lettuce on the way. But I've run out of these tubs now. So what I'll do instead is I'll have a rummage round shed. It's not a bad day. There's no wind, there's no rain for a change. And I'll just sort some nice sized round pots out, and then we'll get loads and loads of seeds multi-sown into these pots, all labelled up, so that next week we've got loads more little seedlings that we can prick out. And by May, hopefully, we're going to be swamped with plants that need moving on and maybe even planting out. So if you're interested in seeing that, please hit that subscribe button, press that notifications bell, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Take care and have a nice weekend.